Time is luxury, which is why Polestar spent so much time designing and refining every aspect of Polestar 3, their luxury electric performance SUV, so you can drive with up to 315 miles of range, so you can listen in 3D with up to 25 speakers and Bowers & Wilkins surround sound, and you can seamlessly stay connected with Google built in the entire time you're driving. All to make the time you spend behind the wheel of Polestar 3 the best time of your day. Book your test drive at Polestar.com.
Okay, you can do this.
I know. Carvana makes it so convenient to sell your car. It's just hard to let go. My car and I have been through so much together.
But look, you already have a great offer from Carvana. That was fast.
Well, I know my license plate and VIN by heart, and those questions were easy.
You're almost there. Now to just accept the offer and schedule a pickup or drop-off.
How'd you do it? How are you so strong in letting go of your car?
Well, I already made up my mind, and Carvana's so easy.
Yeah, true. And sold.
Go to Carvana.com to sell your car the convenient way.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Remember when you first saw the potential? And then through some elbow grease, fresh installs, and a whole lot of love, you transformed 100,000 miles and a body full of rust into a drive that's all your own. Look to your left. Look to your right. It's official. No one's got a ride like this. There's nothing else that sounds like, feels like, or looks like the set of wheels in your garage. With over 122 million parts, you can make sure your number one ride or die stays running smoothly, so there's no limit to how far you can take it. Brake kits, turbochargers, engines, exhaust kits, roof racks, LED headlights, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus at these prices, well, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
It's time. Time to get in the zone. Time to get in the zone with the 49ers Web Zone. This is the No Huddle Podcast with Al and Brian.
49ers Web Zone No Huddle Podcast. We are part of the Odyssey Network. I'm Al Sacco. He's Brian Renick. It is finally time to talk about a real game. Brian, no contracts, no holdouts. Real game. Week 1.
Real game.
Monday Night Football. Jets and Niners, baby. Let's go. Hey, do you remember the last time the Niners played the Jets? Do you remember the game? Do you remember what happened?
I do. I remember that game. That was the Garrison Hurst game, week 1. And you're talking about? Oh, sorry. Just the last time they played the Jets.
Yeah, I mean,
I blocked that out.
Like
I blocked
2
that
centuries
out.
ago. I was going to
I
2
blocked
decades
that out.
ago.
I thought you meant the last time they played the Jets week 1, which is when we had that. Garrison
Oh, no.
Hurst
That was really good. Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Was that the 98-yard run from Hurst?
Yeah, that's the last time the 49ers have played the Jets at home in week 1. It was that game where Garrison Hurst had that 98-yard touchdown run.
I was thinking the last time they played them recently, which was
I blocked that. I blocked that out because
I think a lot of people did. So
nightmare.
Don't want to relive it, but we, in the previews, we do kind of talk about this stuff. And the last game was 2020, and it was a good game score-wise. The Niners won 31-17.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have George Kittle. They didn't have Deebo Samuel. Kendrick Bourne led the team with 67 yards receiving. Jordan Reed had 2 touchdown catches. Mostert, 92 yards and a TD. But the reason why that game
high
is
ankle sprain,
memorable or forgettable, Garoppolo and Nick Bosa. That was a Nick Bosa game where they were on that nightmare 2-week stretch on the turf in the Meadowlands or whatever the hell it's called with the Jets and the Giants.
Let's not forget Solomon Thomas in that game as well. It was Solomon Thomas and Bosa, both season-ending knee injuries.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
Now this time it's in Santa Clara. Niners got a home game, but dude, I'll tell you what, man. Again, it always feels like long off seasons, but I'm pumped, dude. I cannot wait for the season to start.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pumped today, and my team isn't even playing, but I threw on my Purdy Kittle 24, Make America Great Again shirt. Not really Make America Great Again, but it is red and it says Purdy Kittle 24. I'm wearing my 49ers hat. But again, it's just because the Chiefs and the Ravens are playing today. It's a real NFL game.
Love it.
That counts in the standings. Just couldn't be more excited. Obviously, I'm going to hate watch that game because I don't like either one of those teams. But
should have been the Niners playing tonight.
But in the end, I am hoping for a Ravens victory because at this point, I will root against the Chiefs anytime they're on the field. So Just excited for real football.
I got a lot of fantasy implications tonight. I'll talk about it later. I'm going to read you not my dynasty team. I'll read you the team I just drafted the other night. I want to hear what you think of it, but we'll do that later. Got to talk about the game for now. And this, so I guess I want to start with Robert Saleh. When you look at the Jets stories this year, the Jets, Peter Schrager picked them to get the bye. A lot of expectations on the Jets, but I live in New York. I know a lot of Jets fans. Jets fans don't have expectations for the Jets. They're just like, well, we don't know what's going to go wrong. We just know it's going to go wrong at some point, like last year. So Bobby Saleh, who I really do. These ex-Niners coaches, DeMeco Ryans, Mike McDaniel, Robert Saleh, I root for them. I do. I want to see them do well. McDaniel has done fairly well. DeMeco Ryans looks like he might be a stud head coach.
Yeah.
It's been tough on Big Bob.
Yeah.
4-13, 7-10. And then last year, they had the rug pulled out from underneath them. So he goes 7-10. Obviously, Rodgers gets hurt 4 plays into the game. But this is a huge year for Saleh.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do serious things, I don't think he's going to be back. I mean, Aaron Rodgers runs the team, so it depends on what Rodgers thinks. But huge year for Saleh. Huge game for Saleh, coaching against his ex team with the Niners. And they have to come out. Jets have to come out strong, man. There's a lot of pressure on them this year.
Yeah, I think when you look at the 3 head coaches across the league that are former Kyle Shanahan lieutenants with McDaniel, Saleh, and DeMeco Ryans. I mean, you could argue that Saleh took the most difficult job, which is the New York Jets, right? Not just roster talent wise, because theoretically, you could look at that team that DeMeco Ryans was taking over in Houston and be like, man, that team is going nowhere. And then they hit on CJ Stroud and they hit on Will Anderson in one draft, and they go from, afterthoughts to playoff teams to, in his second year, being, lots of people are talking about them as possible AFC Championship game participants. So, but the Jets it's just a cursed franchise, right? Like it is not, I mean, I cannot imagine being a Jets fan. My literal, like, my heart goes out to them because it has been just a shit show for their franchise for so long now. But you're right. I mean, this is a make or break season for Robert Saleh. He hasn't had, you could argue he hasn't really had a fair shake, right? Like they went into that draft, the Zach Wilson draft, and the worst kept secret was that they were drafting Zach Wilson. Obviously that is a disaster. That did not work out. And then you go, well, okay, but now we're going to overpay and we're going to bring Aaron Rodgers in. We're going to have an adult in the room. We're going to have a real NFL quarterback. We're going to run this offense. And literally, what was it? The 3rd play of the season on offense for the
3rd or 4th.
Jets?
Well, yeah, something like that.
Leonard Floyd, current 49er, sacks Aaron Rodgers and he tears his Achilles. And so it's been a tough run for Saleh, but regardless of how tough it's been, this is the make or break season for him. They've got to make the playoffs. And I think if they don't, he probably ends up out of a job. What will be interesting is to see how the 49ers defense plays throughout the 2024 season, because if Saleh becomes available, does Shanahan look to bring him back, or does Saleh even look to come back? Or, it'll be interesting to see. But the one thing that I always hang my hat on is that Kyle Shanahan against his former lieutenants is just lights out. And so I'm kind of holding on to that because I've been pretty scared of this game for quite a while now. Just because of everything that has gone on with Brandon Ayuk, with Trent Williams. Both are practicing. I saw a video of Trent Williams. He looks like Trent Williams, but somebody asked Kyle Shanahan today, can we expect Brandon Ayuk to be a part of like 95% of the offensive plays like he normally is? And Shanahan was non-committal on that, and understandably, right? He hasn't had a training camp or preseason. But I'm scared of this game, both in the win-loss column and also the health of Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk. It's just I'm excited for the game, but at the same time, I'm just terrified that something bad is going to happen.
Yeah, in this game too. So the Niners defense, I feel like the Niners, we'll get into it because the Jets defense is going to be a test, but the Niners offense this season is still the Niners offense. they may come out slow in this game because of Ayuk not being in camp and Williams not being in camp and just playing a really good defense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they're going to be the Niners offense this year. The defense, we don't know because the defensive line we still have to see.
Yeah.
We still have to see with linebackers without Greenlaw there, although there's a lot of faith in the secondary. And Aaron Rodgers, to me, is obviously the big key in this game. We know they have Breece Hall, and I think the Jets are going to try to run the ball in the Niners.
That's who I'm most afraid of, although he's on my fantasy team. So,
yeah, so it could be a situation where they just try to pound the ball. But still Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers in 2020 and 2021, dude threw 85 touchdown passes and 9 interceptions. It's insane.
Yeah.
In back-to-back MVP seasons. Now, he didn't beat the Niners in the playoffs, but, he still was an elite quarterback. But in 2022, he was not.
Yeah.
He did have the thumb injury. I know he had other injuries that year. But the Packers went 8-9. He only completed 64% of his passes. 3,695 yards, 26 TDs, and 12 picks. So he had more picks that year than he did in the previous 2 seasons. Actually.
Combined. Yeah.
Yeah. In the previous 3 seasons combined, basically, because he had 13 interceptions in the previous 3 combined. So what is Aaron Rodgers going to look like? Like you said, he played 3 or 4 snaps last year. Is he going to be rusty? Reports out of camp was that he looked good.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like Rodgers again. He was moving well. He's throwing the ball. He's got Garrett Wilson out there. But he's going to be rusty. Mm-hmm. So you're coming in this game. I'm nervous about this game too, but I'm more nervous about the Breece Hall factor than right now I am about Rodgers, because there's going to be some rust there. We'll see how the Niners D does. We don't know if Gross Matos is going to play in this game. He hasn't been practicing because of his knee. But a lot of eyes from the NFL world in this game is going to be, is Aaron Rodgers going to be Aaron Rodgers again?
Yeah, I mean, it's Monday night primetime, right? Like all eyes are on this game. And our biggest concern, we've said it over and over on this show, our biggest concern is the run defense for the 49ers. And this is a really, really stiff test right at the beginning for, what is it going to look like? Because not only do you have Breece Hall, but you've got a revamped Jets offensive line as well. No idea like how to really rank where they're at, because we haven't seen them, but it is a better offensive line than they've had in the past couple of years, at least talent wise. And then again, Breece Hall, I think, is one of the better running backs in the NFL. The interesting thing about Aaron Rodgers, I saw a picture of him recently. He was just giving an interview or whatever, and you could see the difference in size between his right calf and his left calf, right? His left is, or I can't remember which one. I believe it was his left that he ruptured, right? But it's like, I don't know, twice the size, right? So you can see that his body is still compromised, if you will, from that injury. So it will be interesting to see, again, if he is as mobile as he used to be, because he was never a running quarterback, but very much like Brock Purdy, he's slippery in the pocket, and he'll get out and he'll get on the run, and he'll throw on the run as well. I'm interested.
Not
to
a
see
running
what
quarterback,
that
but
looks like.
very mobile quarterback. Yeah, if he can still do that. The Niners tend to have problems with running quarterbacks, but again, he's not. Again, we're going to see how Rodgers comes back, but as much as we talk about Rodgers in this offense, it's going to be this Niners defense again. What do they look like? What does this defensive line look like? Can they stop the run? Is Devondre Campbell going to be able to fill in somewhat for Dre Greenlaw? Is the secondary going to be dominant? I heard Aponte, and thanks for Jay and Steph for coming on the show when I wasn't here, talking about, in the Super Bowls, how the Niners were getting held. Well, now they can cover maybe a little bit better than they were able to.
Yep.
So is that going to make up for what we may see? Just definitely there's not as much depth on the defensive line. We'll see if they can still be prolific with the guys that they have, but can they make up for it in the back end with Yadam and Lenore and Charvarius Ward? That's going to be really interesting for me to see, because the Jets don't necessarily scare me other than Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams is coming off an injury. He's always heard he's a good player. There's not really a ton of the receivers. Malachi Corley's a rookie that they say they're going to use like Deebo Samuel. Will they get him involved? Not a ton else that scares me, other than Garrett Wilson is a stud and Breece Hall is a stud. So you just have those two high-end guys.
Well, and the other thing is, I'm not afraid of their offensive play caller, right? Like, you can talk about using Malachi Corley as Deebo Samuel, but do you really trust Nathaniel Hackett to draw up plays that are, going to take advantage of a guy like Malachi Corley and his skill set? I'm not, but I could be wrong. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers vouches for the guy, so
Aaron Rodgers loves him, the guy.
But my question is, does Aaron Rodgers love him because he puts Aaron Rodgers in position to succeed, or does Aaron Rodgers love him because Aaron Rodgers can walk all over him and just run the offense that he wants to run? I think it's probably the latter, but obviously
it kind of feels like
we're not there.
Like Rodgers is there at that point in his career. Like he just kind of wants to run the show.
Right.
That's sort
100%.
like. I mean, you hear reports, and I don't put a lot of stock in this stuff, that Rodgers, people are kind of like looking at him a little bit sideways. That's kind of what I've heard. But at the end of the day, if he comes out and plays like Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't matter if he's that good. They've basically built their franchise around him. I don't know what the hell the Jets are going to do in another couple of years, but they went all in on him. So it's huge for him to come back there. But they were, as bad as they were last year on offense, the defense was phenomenal for the Jets.
Good.
The Jets had, and I watch a lot of Jets games because where I am, just a fantastic defense. And when I was writing the notes for this game, I started writing them a couple of weeks ago, and I wrote key matchup because I didn't know if Trent Williams was going to be back. I wrote Jets D-line versus 49ers shitty O-line.
Yeah.
I hope that the 49ers O-line is a little less shitty with Trent Williams in there. But that's a concern. Williams has – Bosa talked last year. It took me a little while to get going after I wasn't in camp. Williams hasn't been in camp. Is he going to take a little while to be himself? Is Brandon Ayuk going to take a little while to be himself? And I want to throw some stats at you, Brian. So the Jets were tied for best in the NFL with 4.6 yards per play allowed in 2023. On the flip side, the Niners led the NFL in yards per play at 6.6. But the Jets, they get after the quarterback. Pressure percentage was 26.5%, which was top 4 in the NFL. And they hurried QBs on 10.1% of their dropbacks, which was second in the NFL. Now, on top of the pressure, you have Sauce Gardner, you have DJ Reed, you have Michael Carter, who just got a huge contract extension with them. It was 3 years, $30 million for their nickel. They were very hard to throw against. They gave up 60% completion, which was third best in the NFL. Only 2,861 passing yards, which was second. And they held QBs to a rating of 76, which was third. Now, teams ran a ton against the Jets last year, but I don't know if that was because of game plan or just because of what the game ended up being, because teams were ahead or whatever. But 517 rushing attempts against the Jets was the third most in the NFL. They allowed 4.1 yards per carry, which is middle of the pack. Not great, not horrible. So the defense is going to be a test. Now, they don't have Hassan Reddick, at least we don't think. He hasn't checked in yet to camp.
There's no way he plays.
There's no way. Robert Saleh said we're not ruling him out, but I mean, come on.
He hasn't reported at all. There's no way he plays in this game.
Give me a break. If he reports Sunday night, it's not happening. We're recording this on a Thursday. I would be shocked. Yeah. Maybe if he comes in tomorrow, we could play a few plays or whatever, but likely not having him. Bryce Huff signed with the Eagles this year, so that's an edge player they don't have. Yeah. They do have Quinnen Williams. They still have some really good players there. It's going to be a huge test for the Niners against this D, and a good test. I want to see in week one how they match up against a defense like this.
100%. I don't know that this defense is as good as it was last year because, like you said, they lost Bryce Huff. Now they were hoping to replace Bryce Huff with Hassan Reddick. That hasn't worked out simply because Hassan Reddick hasn't reported after the trade because he's looking for a change in his contract to better reflect his sack totals over the last couple seasons. And so their edge play is not as good as it was last year, just simply because of the loss of Bryce Huff. Now they have Jermaine Johnson, their first round pick from 2 seasons ago, and then Michael Clemens on the other side. And then behind them, they've got Will McDonald, who was a first round pick for them last year. Didn't flash a ton, but no idea what, that year 2 jump will look like. And then Tack McKinley is the other, the other edge that they have there. Interestingly enough, on the interior, 2 familiar faces. Right now, looking at the depth chart on the Jets official team website, Quinnen Williams. I'm excited to see Quinnen Williams versus Dominic Pooney. Like, that's one of the matchups that I'm really excited to see. Just, you're throwing this rookie just right into the fire against one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. I'm excited to see how he holds. I'm not expecting him to dominate or anything like that, but what I would love to see is just to have him hold his own. Like if he can hold his own against Quinnen Williams, then I'm pumped for the rest of the season.
Excited is not the word I use. Terrified. Terrified.
I mean, terrified is fair. I mean, it's fair, but I am how about intrigued?
There you go. I'll say it. Dude, right. Quinnen Williams against Brendel and Pooney in his first game, and Aaron Banks with whatever his broken pinky or whatever.
But do you know who's starting opposite Quinnen Williams on the interior for these Jets?
Is it Thomas?
It's Javon Kinlaw.
Oh, I forgot Kinlaw was even on the team. That's right. Yep.
So Kinlaw and Quinnen Williams are again on the depth chart starters at interior, and then Solomon Thomas is Quinnen Williams' backup. I would just assume he's probably the first backup, right? They bring him in, whatever.
Yeah. Javon Kinlaw revenge game.
Yeah. Wow. Javon Kinlaw revenge game. DJ Reed revenge game. Also, their backup safety. This is interesting. You ready? Chuck Clark and Tony Adams are their starters. Isaiah Oliver is the backup safety. Wow. Isaiah Oliver, 49ers legend. Isaiah Oliver. So a lot of familiar faces on that defensive side, which makes sense. Again, you've got former defensive coordinator, right? He's comfortable with some of these players. So, I think the strength of this Jets defense is their secondary with Sauce Gardner, with DJ Reed, with Michael Carter. It'll be interesting to see. You talked about teams running on them. One of the things that we didn't touch on at the top of this is the report today that Christian McCaffrey is limited at practice. He's back, but he's limited with his calf injury, which now that injury reports have to be official, we also get word that it's calf/Achilles, which typically if you've got a calf issue, you're probably going to have a bit of an Achilles issue, right? It's all interconnected there. But that's scary. And that's scary because, Dre Greenlaw's injury report going into the Super Bowl was a calf and Achilles. And then
the first thing that popped in my head,
Dre Greenlaw, tore his Achilles running onto the field. So definitely not ideal, obviously. And we'll see. We'll see if CMC, is a full participant in this game, or if they bring him along slowly. Could it be a Jordan Mason, game? We'll see. But I think, to me, that's my biggest concern heading into the game, outside of the rust of Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk and really the injury concern when it comes to, a pulled hamstring, whatever. But yeah, your offense is built out of Christian McCaffrey. Kyle Shanahan's built all of the offense out of Christian McCaffrey. At least he did last season. And so it'll be interesting. And I'm also interested to see how Brock Purdy goes against a secondary with a lot of talent. They play a lot of zone, and Brock is really good at dissecting zones. So it'll also be interesting to see if Saleh throws wrenches in there and goes more maybe man heavy or something like that. So it's a chess match that again, I'm excited about. Also nervous. I've said for the past 3 weeks, I think this is a loss. With Williams and BA back, I'm waffling a little bit, but I am concerned about this game for sure.
I read the McCaffrey Achilles thing, and I know maybe there's just tightness. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I just read it and just said to myself, oh shit. Because one of the things with all the contract drama and everything else, the fact that McCaffrey was on the sidelines the whole time was sort of in the back of my head. I know they're going to put him in bubble wrap. I understand all that stuff, but just couldn't get out of the back of my head is that calf going to linger? Because again, we talked about it. He's had 798 touches the last 2 years combined. He had over 400 touches last year. The last time he had over 400 touches with Carolina, he played 10 games the next 2 seasons. So it's just wear and tear on a running back. I don't care how good shape you're in. I don't care how young you are. If you have that wear and tear as a running back over and over and over again, we've seen injuries happen. We've seen people fall off cliffs. Delvin Cook was amazing 2 years ago. He's barely in the league now. I know he just signed with Dallas, but he couldn't stick with the Jets last year. He just signed with the team, and he was still at the top of his game 2 or 3 years ago. So you just never know. I'm terrified when I saw that. Knock on wood, but if you don't look at that and address it and say kind of like, oh shit, that is a little bit worrisome, and they do have to be careful with him, especially early, because like you said, the offense runs through him, and they paid him to be around, for the next few years. So that was a little bit scary. I'm glad that they pumped the brakes on him in the preseason and in camp and said, all right, just go do your workouts. We're going to put you in bubble wrap. But that's going to be a situation to watch definitely the entire season, especially early in the year with him. And I think that they're going to manage his reps. If he's not 100%, he's not going to be on the field for every single play. So you may see more Jordan Mason, which fans have been wanting to see. Not that you want McCaffrey off the field ever, but we have been wanting to see more Jordan Mason and what he can do. But holy shit, man. I read that and I was just like, again, you never know. Maybe he's just got a little tightness. They have to be specific now in the injury reports teams with the NFL. But McCaffrey's the one guy, man. It's a little scary if he's not there.
100%. Man, I can't go through a season where, you lose a superstar
let's get it out of our heads. That's it. We talked about it. Let's just be in complete denial. We didn't even see that injury report. Doesn't
wash
exist.
My hands of that. Wash my hands of it.
Totally wash our hands of it.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
It's Odyssey's AI Minute, presented by Oracle. We all know what it's like to feel harried, but you definitely don't want your doctor rushing. AI technology, like Clinical Digital Assistant from Oracle Health, might be a solution. The new center at Stanford Medicine reports that AI can accurately listen and record clinical notes. 2/3 of physicians said it helped to save time. This means more time for clinicians to be present with their patients. AI may be the most important new computer technology ever, but AI needs a lot of processing speed, and that gets expensive fast. Upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is the single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. Do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic. Take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/AI-biz. oracle.com/AI-biz.
Time is luxury, which is why Polestar spent so much time designing and refining every aspect of Polestar 3, their luxury electric performance SUV, so you can drive with up to 315 miles of range, so you can listen in 3D with up to 25 speakers and Bowers & Wilkins surround sound, and you can seamlessly stay connected with Google built in the entire time you're driving. All to make the time you spend behind the wheel of Polestar 3 the best time of your day. Book your test drive at polestar.com.
You brought up Purdy. This is a good test. I know it's the first game of the season, but it's a good test game for him, for me. Last year, everybody was worried about Purdy because he's coming off of the elbow surgery. How's he going to start? What's he going to look like early? He's just a young quarterback. You don't know how he was going to bounce back. And he came out, it was phenomenal. In that first week, the game in week 1, as soon as the lights came on, the Niners just dominated, right? They just kicked the shit out of Pittsburgh. And that was a game last year I was a little bit worried about. I said, you're going to Pittsburgh. You have this young quarterback who's a little bit banged up, or I should say recovering anyway, from an injury. What's it going to look like? Is he going to be rusty? Is he going to have his fastball? I thought it would maybe be a low-scoring game, and the Niners blew the doors off them. And I saw a stat today from NFL Communications. So Brock Purdy needs a passer rating of 110 or more in one of his first 4 starts this season to join Mahomes as the only QBs in NFL history to have the rating of 110 plus in at least 15 of their first 25 career starts. Purdy's had a rating of 110 or higher in 14 of 21 starts. That is unbelievable.
It's incredible.
And again, look at historically what I just said. Him and Mahomes. That's it. Purdy has been, I mean, it's just amazing what he's done statistically. In this game, trying to think, this is definitely one of the best defenses he's played against. I mean, the Jets defense is for real. It's got to be one of the top Ds that he's played. So coming into this game with Trent Williams, could be rusty, with Brandon Ayuk, who could be rusty, I think they're going to get some pressure on him, especially up the middle. I'm really interested to see how he can do in this game, which will probably be one of the tougher games I think that he plays all year in terms of against a good defense. So
yeah,
this is a big game for him, even in week one. I'm not going to go crazy if he has a bad game. Again, week one against a really good defense, but I want to see if he comes out and plays really well and he has another big statistical game and the Niners win this game, even going away. I think that's a huge statement for him, a huge statement.
Yeah. I mean, and we have seen Brock Purdy struggle against elite defenses, and the Jets have an elite defense. It is a top 10 defense. It's probably a top 5 defense. Now, again, we don't know what they're going to look like this year. There have been some changes on the defense, all of that, obviously. Defensive regression is always a possibility. It's difficult to field an elite defense year over year, which is why, it is, we talked about this team moving from a defensive, essentially kind of a like the defense leading the team to Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and the offense, leading, and then still trying to field competitive defenses, if not top 10 defenses. Again, I think they have the talent on that side of the ball to still be a top 10 defense, and we'll see by the end of the season. But I mean, if you look at the 49ers schedule in terms of like defenses that everybody anticipates being good, right? Like the defenses that most people anticipate being a top 10 defense. It's really the Jets in week one. The Chiefs in week 7. Don't know what to expect out of the Seahawks with Mike McDonald, just because that defense is difficult to learn in the first year. You look at his first year in Baltimore, that defense wasn't nearly as good as it was the second year. And then on top of that, he doesn't have, guys like Kyle Hamilton or, Roquan Smith or, Justin Madubuike, right? All those talented defensive players in Baltimore, none of them went with him. So, there's really not another defense on the schedule that you can look at and be like, yeah, that's going to be a tough test. The Cowboys with Mike Zimmer, they'll be good. They'll be good. But outside of that, I mean, the Bills in week 13, but again, we don't really know what that defense is going to be.
And no Matt Milano. Niners are going to use those linebackers.
I just don't see another defense on the schedule as it's currently constituted where I go, that's going to be a test. It's going to be a test for the 49ers offense. So to get it out of the way in week one, hey, if he doesn't do well, it's like you just build upon that. But I am excited to see him go against a team that is going to challenge him. And so I do have a question for you, because I just love fun little things like this. But who do you think is going to be the first 49er to score a touchdown against the Jets, obviously, but the first touchdown in 2024?
Oh, wow, man. That's putting me on the spot. It's Monday night. And this player tends to show up in primetime. I'm going to say George Kittle.
I think that's a good one. I'm going to throw one out there just because I think it's more fun, and I would be so pumped for him. I'm going to say Juwan Jennings.
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Because here's what I was going to say next before you asked me that question.
Yeah.
We know Debo. We know Kittle, we know Ayuk, we know McCaffrey, but Juwan Jennings led the team in receptions in the postseason. So was that just a product of a few games, or is he going to be a bigger part of the offense? And that was the next thing I was going to say. It's really funny you said that. Is he going to be someone who goes from a catch here or there to someone who gets 3 or 4 catches a game and becomes a bigger part of the offense because of what he did in the postseason? That's one thing to really look at for me.
Yeah, because I think this team is going to throw more than we have seen since Kyle Shanahan has been here. I'm not saying that he is going to completely abandon the run. Obviously, you're not when you have the best running back in the NFL and you're paying him top dollar. You're not going to abandon the run. But if my hope, and I talked about this with Steph and with Jay, is that one of the things that Kyle Shanahan learned, right, in his second Super Bowl loss is we've got to have a better and more varied drop back passing game if we're going to win in the playoffs, because if teams are going to key on stopping the run and then, just play press man coverage and just dare us to beat them, we need to be able to do that. And I think we look at history with Kyle Shanahan, and this to me, this is his second season in Atlanta, right? Where Matt Ryan had the most historically efficient offensive season in, I don't know if it's in history, but one of the, I think, top 5 most efficient. That offense was historically good. And what was it? It was the second year with a quarterback that Kyle Shanahan trusted. Well, he had an entire year last year with Brock Purdy. Didn't really go into the season knowing he could trust him, simply because he'd only had him in 8 games and he was coming off an injury. But now you've got a full season where, he was in the thick of the MVP race until that Ravens game. Kyle Shanahan trusts this guy, and I think he's going to put more on his shoulders and more on his plate, which means, again, you're going to see more of a varied passing attack. And so I think Brandon Ayuk's going to have a huge season. I think Deebo Samuel's going to have a huge season. I think George Kittle and Jawan Jennings are both going to have, pretty statistically significant seasons. And then you've got the rookies that you can throw in there eventually. Obviously Ricky Pearsall out for the first four weeks of the season. But he was at practice today. He was at practice. He was on the field. On the field. Yeah. Just wild. Just incredible. Just the sheer, I don't want to call it luck, but that really was what it was, when it came to this injury. But Jacob Cowing, I think, is a guy that Kyle Shanahan is already anticipating having fun with. You know what I mean? Like a new toy. So, I am excited to see Brock Purdy in this game, because, again, this is one of the better pass defenses that he's going to see this season. And, I would love to see him just dice him up. And if he does, man, my excitement for the season is just going to go to the moon.
Oh yeah. If he comes out with a big game in week 1, like I said, it's a statement. And maybe the answer to McCaffrey being a little bit banged up isn't Jordan Mason. Maybe the answer is we're going to throw more.
Yeah.
We're going to let Brock sling it 35 times or whatever it is. We're going to get Juwan Jennings involved. We're going to get our targets to Deebo, Ayuk, and Samuel. Because a lot of these games in Kittle, you have your Kittle game, you have your Deebo game, you have your Ayuk game. Maybe if they're throwing more this year, you're going to see a Kittle and Ayuk game, a Deebo and Kittle game, or whatever it is.
It's rarely 2 guys. It's almost always just one guy. So
right. Maybe now we'll get two a little bit involved.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's exciting. I mean, again, you said before we came on and we had talked in the offseason a lot. We felt like there was a lot of sort of Niner fatigue just because of the Super Bowl loss took so much out of people. And we found it in doing content. There was just sort of less interaction, less listens, less views than we had seen before. It just seemed like there was a dip. And I remember I had said to you at one point, I was like, dude, it's like, it seems like people aren't interested. And you're like, well, I think people have fatigue. And I said, holy shit, you're right. I just think that took a lot out of the fan base, and rightfully so. It's been a lot this few years, but it seems to be really renewed now. It was a tough off season. It was a tough preseason, but once in the past couple weeks, man, there's just been it seems like a revival again. Like everything is just, the interest is just so much more. And that's awesome to see. So, all right. I still want to ask you about my fantasy team, and I want you to create it for me, but we got to do predictions. In this game. I'll start, I guess.
Okay.
I did not think they were going to win a week ago. I said Williams, even if he comes back, it's late. He hasn't practiced. Ayuk, same thing. This just feels like a loss to me. Kind of changed my mind with it. And the reason for that is I'm looking at the Niners, and I have concerns about the defensive line. But see the offense, and I still see George Kittle. I still see Deebo Samuel. I still see Brandon. I still see these guys. This offense was phenomenal last year. I think it's going to be close, and I don't know if it'll be pretty. Week 1, you're still feeling things out, but I'm going to go with the Niners here, like a 24-20-ish type game.
Damn you.
You're gonna say the same thing? You're gonna say the same
that
thing?
was my exact, that was my exact score. I was going to say 49ers end up pulling this one out 24-20. I'll say 24-21. I'm going to give Jake Moody the game-winning field goal. How about that? There we go. Jake Moody, not redeeming himself. I think he had a fine season last year, but first game of the season, the lights are the brightest. It's going to come down. The 49ers drive down. Saleh comes up with some big stop, Saleh's defense. And so Jake Moody comes out and kicks the game-winning field goal. The 49ers win 24-21. Like I said, I've been scared of this game for a while now. Obviously, the vibes are a little bit better and a little bit higher now with, Ayuk being signed, with Williams being signed. Hell, I mean, with Debo restructuring, fans are like, well, listen, this means that Debo is likely here at least another season after this one, which is, I don't know, it's good or bad, whatever. It just is what it is. But
it's good. I mean,
it is good. It is good. It is good.
Debo, if he's back, that's good. That's awesome.
Well, and they restructured some stuff with Malik Collins, and so if I'm not mistaken, I think they're up somewhere around $40 to $50 million in cap space for the 2024 season, which is, I believe, the most in the NFL right now. And obviously, they are looking to roll that over in order to pay for that Brock Purdy. It's 46. They're 46.3 million under the cap. I also think it paves the way for a possible impactful midseason trade as well, if they find themselves somewhere where that becomes an option. So I'm excited. Like I said, I think the vibes are higher. I think the 49ers are better than the Jets, even with Aaron Rodgers, even with that talented Jets defense. And so I think this is it's a veteran team. It is a team that loves to be in prime time, under the lights, all eyes on them. They tend to come out and I think about like the Eagles game where they just came out and just boat raced the Eagles in Philadelphia, right? I think these players are going to be hyped. I think they're going to be hyped to beat Robert Saleh, even though they love Robert Saleh. I think they're going to be hyped to get past this wonky offseason. Honestly, I think they are a bit like hyped up to do this for Ricky, right? And kind of that's a galvanizing moment for a team, right? Even Trent Williams was like, the news about the shooting happens on Saturday, and Trent's like, look, whatever this is, I need to get there. Like, I need to be with my team. And he shows up and gets the deal done. So, I think things are starting to coalesce for the season, and I think they're going to ride that. And I think they end up winning this game. I do think it'll be close, but I do have the 49ers winning this game 24-21.
If Jake Moody wins it, the only way that can happen is if he shanks a 24-yarder in the second quarter and then hits like a 58-yarder to win it.
And then redeems
that's the Jake Moody experience, right? Like, that's the way that it's got to happen.
Have you ever wanted to learn another language? Maybe it's something you've always wanted to do. Or maybe you're planning a trip abroad, but trying to memorize endless vocabulary words never works. That's where Rosetta Stone comes in. For over 30 years, they've been the trusted experts in language learning, helping millions of people get the chance to learn different languages. Rosetta Stone immerses you in the language from day one. No English translation, so you truly learn to think, speak, and listen in that new language. And they keep the process simple. Whether you're on your desktop or learning on the go with their mobile app, it's all about flexibility. So don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. Listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. Visit rosettastone.com/rs10. That's half off unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your 50% off at rosettastone.com/rs10 today. At Alma, we know the connection between you and your therapist matters. But if you're already feeling stressed and burnt out, the idea of trying to find a therapist you really connect with can be overwhelming. That's why Alma's focused on helping you find the right therapist for you. When you browse their online directory, you can filter your search based on the qualities that are most important to you. Then you can book a free 15-minute consultation call with any therapist you're interested in seeing, so you can get a feel for whether they're the right fit before you commit to a full-length session. Alma also makes it easy for mental health care providers to navigate insurance. That's why 95% of therapists in their directory accept insurance for sessions, so you can find care that's affordable without stressing about the paperwork. You want to talk to someone, but not just anyone. Alma is there to help you find the right fit. Visit helloalma.com/therapy60 to schedule a free consultation today. That's helloalma.com/therapy60. If you're in the market for investment-worthy bags, watches, and fine jewelry, Rebag is the answer. Rebag is a luxury resale marketplace where each piece is carefully vetted and verified by experts to ensure quality and authenticity. If you're in the market, use Rebag to buy and sell finds from the world's top brands, including Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier. Head to Rebag.com to get 10% off your first purchase with code REBAG10. Shop today at Rebag.com. That's REBAG.com. And use promo code REBAG10 for 10% off your first purchase.
All right, Brian, I want you to grade my fantasy team. PPR.
Yep. Okay.
Be honest.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Be brutally honest with me. PPR, I had the 8th pick. Okay.
Okay. In 10
Joe
teams?
Burrow, 12 teams.
12 teams. Okay. Oh, okay.
Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson.
Ooh.
DK Metcalf. Terry McLaurin. Isaiah Pacheco. James Cook. Ferguson, tight end for the Cowboys, who may be their number 2 receiver. Not trying to sway you, but he may be their number 2 receiver. James Conner, Young Koo, Pittsburgh's defense. Because I'd give it an A-.
Here's what I'm going to say. The fact that you got Justin Jefferson at 8, I'm going to call that the Sam Darnold effect. That's wild to begin with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic value. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a humongous year.
I hope so.
And I just never trust Buffalo running backs. So my only concern for you.
He was great for me last year because he catches a lot of balls. So even if he's getting 70 yards on the ground, he's going to,
that's true.
4 or 5 catches.
I think, again, you always have to take into account where you're drafting and the number of teams. And again, the fact that you drafted at 8 in a 12-team league and you ended up with Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow, that's an impressive draft just in and of itself. I like it. I'm giving that team definitely an A, just again based on where you drafted.
Let's go. Oh, thank you. Thank you, sir.
So now I will return the favor. Okay. This was just a 10-team league. I drafted 7th.
Okay.
And I also got Justin Jefferson at 7.
And it's the Sam Darnold effect.
I felt really good about it. It is.
Yeah.
It is the Sam Darnold effect. But here's the thing is, I think Justin Jefferson is, regardless of who's throwing him the ball, is still going to put up a monster year. But I have my 2 quarterbacks are Jordan Love and Caleb Williams. I'm all in on Caleb Williams and the Bears. I'm all in. I think he's going to have. I think the Bears are going to surprise people. I'm not saying that they're going to be a playoff team, but I think they are going to surprise people. I think Caleb Williams is being dropped into a really, really, really good situation. They've got a good defense and they've got a ton of weapons on the offensive side of the ball now. So again, my quarterbacks, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, my running backs, Kyron Williams of the Rams. And then I bought in on the Kyle Shanahan disciple being the play caller in New Orleans and went with Alvin Kamara because I think he's going to have a huge year with
he's got another year or 2
plays. Yep. And then again, the wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, and Calvin Ridley, all 3 are the number 1 targets on their respective squads. I've got Evan Ingram as the tight end, who had a monster year last year. And then my other running back who currently is in flex right now is James Conner. This is a 0.5-point PPR league, by the way.
Okay. All right.
And then I've got the 49ers defense and I've got Brandon Aubrey as my kicker, but I also invested heavily in rookies on my bench in Keon Coleman and Brian Thomas Jr. Because again, Keon Coleman, I think is poised to have a huge year.
Thomas too.
Arguably the best receiving weapon on the Bills. And then Brian Thomas, who I think will, supplant Christian Kirk as the number one target there. And then I also drafted, knowing that he's going to be out at least the first 4 weeks, I drafted Jonathan Brooks, the running back in Carolina, and now he's on IR for me. But I wanted to stash him because I think he's going to have a pretty big year as well.
So who are your two starting running backs?
Kyron Williams and Alvin Kamara.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, in PPR. I'm going to give you an A-. I think that's a good draft. A-.
And my team name is Purdy Fly for a White Guy.
I'm gonna have to steal that one. My dynasty league, I told the guys I would talk about it on the show. So I had the 6th pick, and I won't go through the whole team, but I got Xavier Worthy with the 6th pick, which I thought was great.
Nice.
Because somebody jumped for what the hell's his name from Carolina? You just said Jonathan Brooks.
Oh,
right?
Cooper.
No, the running
Brooks.
back.
Jonathan Brooks.
Jonathan Brooks. So in the top 5, dynasty league, I think he's going to be good down the line. So Worthy fell to me. Yeah. I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm playing him tonight. So we'll see how it goes. And then in the 2nd round, I got Drake May, who I'm excited about.
Nice. I think Drake May is going to be good.
I do too. But yeah, this is great. We should see if Odyssey wants us to do a fantasy pod on the side, because
that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
Do that. That is my job. I absolutely love it. I watch anything I can do with fantasy. I'm all about it. So if anybody needs a fantasy football podcast host, let me know. I'd love to do it. So
that is at Al Sacco 49 on Twitter. Everybody. At Al Sacco 49. Hit him up in the DMs.
Yep. All right, Bri. We're gonna be back probably Monday after the game, after the Niners beat the Jets.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
Jake Moody kicks that game-winning field goal.
Yep. After he's shanked 3 20-yard field goals, he's going to hit the 58-yarder to win it.
Don't put that out in the universe, Al. Don't put it out, right? One shank, fine. One shank, fine. But yeah, multiple shanks, and I think he loses his confidence. So,
all right, listen.
This is a Jake Moody confidence builder.
Please subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Hit up our YouTube station. Subscribe there. You can watch us as well. We appreciate you guys. It's football season. Let's go. For Brian, I'm Al.
Later.
9 3. 1 2 3.
.2400 Sports is an Odyssey company.
From the mind of a 2-foot-tall talking spokes puppet comes this year's biggest challenge. It's time for Bob's Dare to Compare, the hottest game show on TV that asks, what happens when you compare Bob's to the competition? You get style. You get quality. You get beeps and boops and dings and whomps. And thousands of dollars in savings. Everyone's a winner when you dare to compare with Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop in store or at mybobs.com to play now.